112 vehicles vanished from the state's radar in 1984 thanks to a secret garage in Gdańsk. Inside, a grease-stained mechanic kept the wheels of resistance turning. The question is, how did one ordinary man become the invisible engine of a revolution? The Poland of the early 1980s was a nation choking under martial law. Factories were shuttered, stores lined up for bread, and the Soviet-backed government wielded fear like a weapon. Yet, in the working-class districts of Gdańsk, a different kind of tension crackled beneath the surface. Workers, intellectuals, and students had formed Solidarity, the first independent trade union in the Eastern Bloc, demanding the right to bargain, to speak, to exist without state oppression. Their rallies swelled to hundreds of thousands, but every meeting, every flyer, every transport of activists risked immediate arrest by the ubiquitous secret police. In the midst of this clampdown, a modest garage on a narrow cobblestone street became an unlikely hub of covert logistics. Its owner, Tadek Kowalski, a 35-year-old Polish mechanic, grew up with engine oil under his fingernails and a deep distrust of the regime that had forced his father into a collective farm. Tadeusz had served his mandatory military service as a vehicle maintenance officer, learning the language of chassis, gears, and hidden compartments. After his discharge, he opened a small workshop to repair private cars, but as the wave of solidarity spread, his tools took on a new purpose. He began by fixing a battered Fiat 24 for a neighbor who needed to transport leaflets to a workers' meeting. Tadeusz noticed the vehicle's cargo space was large enough to hide bundles of paper, and he installed a false floor lined with cheap plywood, secure enough to evade cursory inspections. Word spread quickly. If you needed to move information, money, or people without the militia noticing, you turned to Tadeusz's garage. He repaired not just cars, but trucks, vans, and even an old Soviet Lada that became a mobile communications hub for union leaders. Each repair was done under the guise of routine maintenance, but in the back room, hidden compartments were crafted, and engines were tuned to run quieter and faster when needed. One night in early December, a group of activists prepared a clandestine protest outside the Lenin shipyard. They needed a convoy of 3 trucks to ferry banners, medical supplies, and a portable generator for lighting. Tadeusz inspected the vehicles, replaced worn-out brakes, and fitted each with a concealed panel behind the driver's seat that could store a stack of leaflets the size of a newspaper. He also adjusted the timing of the engines to ensure a staggered start, minimizing the chance that a roadblock would catch all vehicles simultaneously. When the convoy rolled out at dawn, the trucks blended with ordinary delivery traffic, and the activists safely reached the shipyard, where chants of "Solidarność" echoed over the water. The operation was a success, but it attracted attention. 2 weeks later, plainclothes officers arrived, their insignia glinting under the dim garage lights. They asked Tadeusz to present his paperwork, but his heart raced as they ran a hand over the false floor. Tadeusz kept his composure, answered routine questions about tire pressure, and offered them coffee. While they examined the exterior, his wife Marta slipped a steel key into the hidden compartment and slipped it back, ensuring the contraband remained hidden. The officers left empty-handed, unaware that the very vehicle they inspected was a silent courier for the movement. As the months progressed, the network grew. Tadeusz recruited a handful of trusted apprentices, all mechanics with families who understood the stakes. They built a rotating schedule of vehicles, each bearing subtle modifications, extra fuel tanks that doubled as storage, mufflers that muffled engine noise, and reinforced suspensions to handle heavier loads over rough roads. Their work was not just technical, it required an intimate knowledge of the daily patrols of the militia, the patterns of checkpoint inspections, and the whispers of informants who lingered in coffee shops. Tadeusz memorized the rhythm of the city's traffic lights and the timing of the police's routine stops, weaving his operations like a chess player anticipating every move. One of the most daring moments came in August 1986, when a planned nationwide demonstration threatened to galvanize the opposition across Poland. The organizers needed a fleet of 10 vehicles to transport participants from the outskirts of Warsaw to the capital's central square. Tadeusz was tasked with the most complex modification yet, converting a battered, rust-covered truck into a mobile command center. He installed a hidden radio antenna that could broadcast encrypted messages, reinforced the cargo area to hold a portable generator, and installed a secret compartment beneath the passenger seat to conceal a set of forged identity documents. That evening, under a drizzle that turned the streets to slick mirrors, the convoy set out. As they approached the city center, a sudden police checkpoint halted traffic. Tadeusz's driver, a young student named Piotr, calmly stepped out, presented the documents, and pretended to negotiate. Meanwhile, hidden in the cargo bay, a second member of the team opened the false floor and passed out a stack of leaflets to waiting hands. The convoy slipped through the checkpoint undetected, and the demonstration unfolded with the scale and unity that would later force the regime to negotiate. Through each operation, Tadeusz never sought recognition. He refused medals, refused interviews, and kept his garage door shut to anyone outside his circle. Yet his actions kept the movement alive, ensuring that activists could meet, that messages could travel, that ordinary citizens could step into the streets without fear of immediate capture. His work was a quiet rebellion, a form of resistance that required precision, patience, and an unflinching resolve. The weight of these secret deeds, however, took a toll on his personal life. Marta, his wife of 10 years, often stayed up late, mending torn clothing and preparing meals for the exhausted men who returned from the garage smelling of oil and triumph. Their 2 children, unaware of the danger lurking in their father's workshop, would sometimes find hidden papers in the attic and ask why their father whispered to himself. Marta would look at Tadeusz with a mixture of pride and dread, knowing that each day could be the one the secret unraveled. Despite the risk, Tadeusz found a strange peace in knowing that his hands were shaping a future that might otherwise be crushed under oppression. In 1991, after the fall of communism, Poland began to unearth the hidden stories of its recent past. Archives opened, and former activists gathered to commemorate the unsung heroes of the Solidarity era. Documentary filmmakers sought out the few remaining mechanics who had kept the wheels turning, and Tadeusz's name surfaced among a handful of testimonies. Yet, when asked about his contributions, he simply smiled, shrugged off the applause, and said, "I just fixed some cars." His modesty embodied the very spirit of solidarity, collective effort over individual glory. Today, the garage where Tadeusz once worked stands refurbished, its walls plastered with photographs of protests, banners, and a modest plaque that reads, "To the mechanics who kept the wheels moving." The story of Tadeusz Kowalski reminds us that history is not only written by leaders and journalists, but also by the hands that repair, rebuild, and keep moving forward when the world tries to stop them. When the forces of repression tried to silence a nation, a humble mechanic turned his tools into weapons of hope. And in doing so, he gave a generation the freedom to speak, to gather, to dream. If this hidden hero moved you, hit the like button, smash subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own forgotten stories so we can keep the wheels rolling together. When the world erases names, let's remember the hands that kept history moving.
Musimy być ostrożni, Marta.